I've already opened Adobe XD and I've created an artboard which is 920 by 1080, but of course you can choose whatever size fits your monitor best and go from there. Now here on the left side I've already created some sort of a little bit of branding guidelines for myself. So I'll be using mainly two colors, white and this very dark purple, and the two fonts that I will be using are called Montserrat and Helvetica. Then I've created some content for myself because I don't want to waste a lot of time thinking of what to write, and also it's always a very good idea to have your content in mind before you start designing anything. So this is the content that I will be using, which I just made up by looking at some websites. As I said, I've already created my artboard, but you can always create a new artboard from here and select the size that you need. So the first thing I'm going to do is select my artboard and change the appearance color to be this dark purple here. So I'm going to use the color picker from here and just select the dark purple color, and this will be our background. Let's start by creating our logo, which will sit here on the left side of our layout, and then we will create the navigation which will sit on the right side of the layout. So for the logo, I just call this website Right because the main objective is to design something with moving cars. So I've copied and pasted the right text. I know it's a little bit hard to see, but the first thing I'm going to do is select the text, make sure the text is set to Montserrat, and I want the text size to be around 60 pixels. Then I want the font weight to be semi-bold, and I want to make sure that this text is set to the color white. Now that we are done with the logo, I want to make sure that the logo is set to point text so we don't have the area around, it doesn't get in the way. And if you click the point text, you will see that it's all compact now, and I can just move the logo here on the left side, somewhere on here. I think this looks good. Let's now create the menu, which will be on the right side of the screen, and for the menu I have a few items or products or company, safety and help. So I'm gonna go ahead, copy this text and paste it on our artboard with Ctrl and V. And the first thing I want to do is make sure that this text is set to the second text, which is the second style, which I'm gonna use Helvetica for this. So what I can do is actually, let's copy this quickly. I'm going to select the text, select this text here and put Helvetica LT. And for the weight, I will stick to Roman, and for the size, I think I'm going to stick to 20, but we can also leave this text area for now or just extend it like this. And in fact, we can actually put it to point as well. So it kind of gives us this square which we can move around. And I'm not actually done with this text. What I want to do is I want to make sure that this text is also white, so I'm going to choose the color picker and just select the first white color from here. And as you can see, this menu is way too close together. We don't want the commas, and also the text itself is not so readable, so we can do with a little bit of spacing. And to do this, let's double click on the text, remove the commas. To make things easier, I'm just gonna add some space with the spacebar, so maybe like 10 spaces, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. I don't know if this is 10, but somewhere around there. I'm gonna copy the spaces and paste them between the other item and do the same for the other item. So we have roughly 10 spaces, and of course you can add or remove spaces as you wish. And as I said, this text, we can make this text a little bit more readable by selecting it and changing the spacing, the character spacing in here. So I think somewhere around 21 looks a little bit better, a little bit more readable. But of course you can mess with this and make it, keep on improving it until you're happy. Now that I have my menu created. Let's zoom out, and I want to make sure that this menu is actually aligned with my logo, and I want to put the menu on the right side. And let's first measure the space between the left side of the screen to the logo. And the reason for this is I want to keep this spacing quite, maybe we can move it even like this. We'll do it to save a little bit of space on the screen. And I will create a rectangle using the rectangle tool in here, just like this. I think this is roughly the size that we need for the right side of the screen and what I can do is move this square to the right side of the screen, just like this, around here. I will align the text just like this. So now we have, if I zoom out, you will see that now we have equal spacing on the left side and the right side of our screen. I also want to make sure that the text in here is center aligned with the logo. So what I can do is select this and press shift on your keyboard and select the logo as well, and use the alignment tool to align the elements in the middle, just like this. I'm now happy with the logo and the menu, and we can continue creating the content. So the way this layout is going to work, I was thinking of doing 2 columns just like this, because it would be very easy to do with maybe using CSS Grid, just like this. I was thinking of 2 equal columns, one to the left side and one to the right side with the graphics and everything, but that will then probably stop me from having the actual graphic, which I will add later, of overflowing everywhere. So I don't think that I will be using 2 columns, but just for the design principle, this is the way I'm thinking of the layout. I'm gonna have for the left column is where the content is gonna go, and for the right column is where the image and animation is gonna go. Let's delete those squares, and let's start by adding the first content title. And the content title I will copy and paste, and the content title is get in the driver's seat and get paid. And what we can do is, to save ourselves time, we can actually make this, if we open the assets menu on the left side, I can actually make this text as a character style in here, so it saves us a lot of time. And I can actually use the styles of the menu that we just created as well by pressing the plus sign. So now we have those 2 styles. I actually want to reuse the logo style on the main text of this page. So what I can do is select the text, click on the Montserrat style, and this is what we get. Let's remove the asset menu for now, and let's make sure this looks good. So I'm not going to use any specific grids for this, but if you do want to use a grid, you can double click on your artboard and select the grid layout, and maybe you can use this grid to align your element just like this. But if I was to use this grid element, I would probably move the column width to be a little bit bigger, maybe like just like this, and then I would align my elements around here. But as I said, I'm not going to be using these grids too much, so for this tutorial I'm just going to remove them and stick with this sort of space for now. This is the title. It might be best to convert the title to text area now, which is already set to text area, which means we can expand it a little bit just like this. I don't want it to expand too much, and I think something like this would do. That looks good. I also want to make sure that maybe we highlight some of the wordings depending on what your wording say. Maybe in this case we can highlight get paid in a color, let's say yellow, because I've already designed the graphics on the graphic on the right side, and I know that the graphic on the right side has a lot of yellow, so I think it makes sense to have it in here, which you'll see in a minute. I also want to make sure that this text has a little bit of line spacing, so we have this nice breathing gap, and the text looks nice and clear. Let's now shrink the box a little bit so it doesn't get in the way, and let's continue with adding the content paragraph text in here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and paste it, and you probably can't see it because it's black, but I will just change it to another color. And for the paragraph, I actually want to stick to the branding guidelines that I created earlier. What I can do is select this text, go to the assets, and just select the Helvetica text. Make sure that everything is looking good, and I think this is looking okay. I'm not sure whether this is too small, but I'm actually zoomed out quite a lot. If I was to desktop preview this, you'll see that the text size is actually quite good and it's very readable. It looks quite nice. Let's close this for now. I think the spacing between those two elements actually kind of works now. We have a lot of space, but they're yet together because we want to make sure that the content stays together. In here, we're basically grouping them, because if I was to move this way down, it might not make sense that these two things are together in the context. So let's move this back, and the next thing I want to do is I want to create two call to action buttons, and the first one will say sign up to Drive. So let me paste this text in here, and I will just change the text to be white so you can see better. And the second one will be talk to us, and I will do the same. Let's just paste in here and change it to white. And what I can do is, let's zoom in a little bit. I'm gonna make sure that the spacing between, let's say, those two elements from here the same. So basically I'm using this space to create, this is where the buttons will start from, and maybe I can drag one of them guidelines from the top, just so this white square doesn't get in the way. And I will delete this for now. And for the button, I will use the same text of Helvetica. Let me select it from here. Oh, no, the first one. I want to make sure that this text is a little bit smaller, maybe around 16 pixels, the smallest. I will align the text to be in the middle, and now I can actually create the button. And to create the button, I'm just going to use the rectangle tool. Make sure it starts from here. Maybe the height could be around 63 and the width could be around 175 or 176. And then we can select this text, make sure we align this text, but obviously now the text is white and I want to make sure that the text is this purpley color here. Also, we need to move the text at the top with using command and right bracket, or control and right bracket on Windows, just like this. Make sure that the text area fits the button so it's in the middle, and I actually can select both elements now and make sure that everything is aligned using the alignment tool. And I don't know if you can notice, but this button actually has a border, so I want to remove that. I will stick to this style of buttons, and I'm actually going to remove this line now because we won't need it anymore. And what I can do for the talk to us, I can actually copy this button, paste it, and make sure we give it a little bit of space, just like this. And I actually want to make this button sign up to Drive. Let me change the text super quickly to talk to us, and actually I need to do this with capital letters as well, so they match. So sign up to Drive and talk to us, and we need to change the T as well. Not sure if I like this, but let's stick to it for now. Maybe no, I will go back to this, I think. Or maybe we can do sign up to Drive like this. I quite like this actually. And talk to us with small letters. Actually, I think this looks a little bit better to me, so I'm going to remove this. But you can play with the capitalization of the letters and so on. I want to make sure that this button is a lot more prominent than talk to us. I want people to be able to see how to sign up first, and then if they have any problems they can talk to us. And to do this, I will actually reverse this button I will make sure that there is no fill, and I will make sure that there is border of white. And also, because now there is no fill, of course I'm gonna have to change the color of the text, and I'm just going to use white for this, just like this. So from importance, this should be the more important button, and this is the secondary call to action button. So far this is great. What we can do now is make sure you save your project, as always, Command NS or Control NS on your Windows machine. And what I wanted to do, I can actually move this a little bit down. I think this looks slightly better, but I will mess around with this later on. But this looks good for me. If we preview on desktop, it's looking quite nice so far. Everything is nice and clean. Let's continue, and what I want to do now is I want to make sure that this content is actually, we can shrink some of it down just like this, so it's the same. And what I will do is I will select everything, and I will make sure that this content is actually center aligned on our page. And to do this, of course, just use the alignment tool here on the top of Adobe XD. Now that we are done with the left side, there is not much else but to come up with a nice attractive graphic for a website. And I've actually spent a little bit of time today creating my graphic, and this is what I came up with, and this is done in Adobe Illustrator. And I'm not going to show you how to create this in this tutorial because it takes quite a long time. It's not hard to do, but it takes a long time to do that kind of stuff. And if you'd like me to show you how to create this, I can do another tutorial. I'll be more than happy to do another tutorial. But basically what I've done is, if I show you the guides in Adobe Illustrator, you can see that I created some guides, and I just created a lot of squares for the buildings and so on. So this is what I created today for this tutorial. And let me remove some of the cars, because we don't want them at the moment. But basically, if you don't want to create this sort of graphics, you can actually go on websites such as Shutterstock or Adobe Stock, and they have a lot of graphics that are actually much better than this. Of course, you'll probably have to pay for them, but you might be able to find some free anyway, some free ones. But basically, I created this today super quickly, and what I want to do is I want to make sure that I copy this graphic, and if we go back to the Adobe file, I will paste the graphic. And sometimes when you paste, the graphic might come down, might be like super small like this, which also looks quite cool if you ask me. But what I want to do is I want to make sure the graphics is a little bit bigger, because later on I will be adding some animation. And let me just copy some of the cars as well from the file here. So let me copy, for example, I want to copy them individually first of all. So if I copy one in here, actually I want to copy them individually, paste them here on the left side, and okay, and the last one in here. Okay, and the reason I copied them individually is so I can position them, and also I can extract them later on for the next tutorial. I can extract those cars individually as SVGs, so we can manipulate them with CSS and JavaScript if needed to be. And also the reason I copied them one by one without resizing them is because I want those proportions to be the same, so I can select all of them and just make them a little bit bigger, just like this, and position them just like this. I think this would actually work. They can get past, and maybe with the one of them here, one of them there, and so on. And if we start this on desktop, as you can see, everything is looking quite nice now. The page is quite modern. So yes, the next tutorial will be based on how to animate this layout in using HTML, CSS and a little bit of JavaScript, maybe GSAP, GreenSock animation. Alright, thank you very much for sticking with me on this video. I hope you learned something, and make sure you check out the next video where I'm going to show you how to create the HTML, CSS, layout and the animation for the illustration on the right side of the design. As always, don't forget to subscribe, give this video the thumbs up, comment below if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.